was told to deliver this message. I was told to deliver this message.
Assalamu alaikum, family. It's your brother Landon X, NationTown TV, and this is, of course, I forgot who she actually is, but she followed me around, so I guess I was going to bring her on. This is my lovely wife, Sister Shauna Joy X.
Assalamu alaikum.
And this is the latest installment of Revolutionary Relationships.
That's right.
And as you can see at the caption right above my big head, as you can see, we're dealing with a special topic by popular demand. We're going to touch on courtship. It's a lot of viewers who have been hitting us up on Facebook as well as in person saying, hey, you know, I like what y'all doing, but man, y'all had us going with the courtship thing. What's going on? So we're going to touch on courtship right down to the modern times and based on what's going on right now. Also, let us know that you can hear us clear and everything's good. And also, we're going to really press y'all for comments and questions because this got to be, remember, Revolutionary Relationships is a lot more interactive than the other times that we go live. But let me just go ahead and start off in the proper fashion. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who mercifully appeared to us in the person of Master W. Fard Muhammad, to whom praises are forever due. I further bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. And as the Holy Quran promises us that certainly for every nation a messenger would be raised from the people so that he could raise that people, that promise was fulfilled by Allah through the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I would not know anything about the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and his majesty and his greatness and majesty. I would not know anything about the majesty and divinity of Master Fard Muhammad if it were not for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, that great divine leader, teacher, and guide that everybody's looking for. Got white girls giving them props. Got white Hollywood women giving him props as if he just fell out the sky yesterday. But in the Nation of Islam, we know this man, we love this man, and you can get to know him better particularly this coming July 4th, 2020, the Criterion. This may be the last time we hear a new message from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and inshallah, July 4th, we will hear from him. But in those three great names, I greet you in the words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
And I'll let this person that be following me around introduce herself.
Assalamu alaikum. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who came to us so mercifully and beautifully in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom all praises are due forever.
That's right.
I further bear witness that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is the exalted Christ and first begotten of the dead, and that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is their divine warner, teacher, servant, student, guide, Son of Man, and Jesus in our midst today. It is in those three great, righteous, and holy names, most beautiful names, that I greet you in the greeting words of peace. Again, we say it in the Arabic language. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. And as I mentioned before, the topic that we're dealing with is courtship and war. Now, what do we mean by that? Well, you've probably heard the saying that, all's fair in love and war. That's where they actually got the name of the movie Love and Basketball from. They just took the war part and put basketball in there. But right now, it goes without question that we are in a war as a people. The Aboriginal people of this earth are in a war. And it's not something that started with the George Floyd situation. It's just become more apparent. It's on your doorstep now. It's in your face now. But this is really a 450, maybe even 460 year war that we've been dealing with. Pardon the movement. But we've been at war for quite some time. And I'm going to prove that in a moment. So it's not going to be something that we just going to throw it out there, because war is a serious term. It's something that it has to be proven. It's something that you have to understand. But there's a difference between being in a war and being at war. I'm going to say that again. There's a difference between being in a war and being at war. When you're at war, you have a strategy, you have a purpose, you know who your enemy is, they know who you are, and it's on. When you're in a war, you might be in a war and not even really realize it. I'll give you an example. I was watching a documentary on the Vietnam War, and they pointed out that many of the farmers, the Vietnamese farmers that were way in the sticks, in the boondocks of North Vietnam and even South Vietnam, they didn't have radios. They didn't really care what the rest of the world was doing. The only thing they were focused on is their livestock, their rice paddies, and farming. So a lot of them didn't even know that what they call the American War, we call it the Vietnam War. They didn't even really know that it was taking place, and it was taking place in the way that it was until napalm bombs came raining down, until American soldiers came banging on their door, or until Vietnamese soldiers came banging on their door and telling them that they needed to usurp their farms for, as makeshift army strongholds. So that's kind of where we are today. It's a lot of people like, oh my God, what's going on? And really, the only thing that's going on is what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has been telling us has been going on for quite some time. Now, if you've been under a rock, and don't know what's going on, we lost our brother George Floyd, so this has brought it to a head. We've had many other situations. We've had Ahmaud Arbery, may Allah be pleased. We just recently had our brother Rayshard Brooks, may Allah be pleased. We have to know their names and put it out there, but man, it is getting very tiresome to constantly, add to that list of names. So we are at war. We're even in a bunker right now due to quarantine. So we decided to come back to the courtship aspect of revolutionary relationships. And for those of you who may be seeing revolutionary relationships for the first time, the name speaks for itself. because we firmly believe that the first step to being a revolutionary is learning how to love as a man, as an Aboriginal man, an Aboriginal woman. The first step to being a female Aboriginal revolutionary is loving an Aboriginal man. In fact, there's nothing else you can do if you reject that. If you reject the black man, then you can't call yourself a revolutionary, sister. If you reject the black woman, you can't call yourself a revolutionary, brother. Sorry about that. So that's where that name comes from. But we started off going step by step through what is the Nation of Islam's Courtship Manual. And then we kind of got off of that and went into other aspects of relationships, of Aboriginal relationships. And now we're coming back to that point, because now we want to talk about what is courtship in a time like this. Should you even pursue it? Is this the time to even think about something like marriage? And if so, would there be any changes? Would you go about it the same way that you normally would? So first off, as we get started, let me just qualify the claim that we're making. We're making the claim that we are currently at war. So I'm going to bring up the actual definition, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has taught us to do, and the messenger taught us before that, to actually define words and know what those words actually mean. It's basically a state of armed conflict between different nations or states, or different groups within a nation or state. A particular armed conflict, a state of competition, conflict, or hostility. But then take a look at the last one at the bottom. It says that a sustained effort to deal with a particular unpleasant or undesirable situation or condition. A sustained effort to deal with an undesirable or unpleasant situation or condition. Now, I ain't the smartest man in the world, but I do know that the situation of the Aboriginal man and Aboriginal woman in America for the last 460 years has been undesirable and unpleasant. And I think y'all would agree with me on that. I want to remind you again, hit us up, questions, comments, share, and share alike. But hit us up with your questions and comments, because we will be hitting that comment board and seeing what the people have to say. But dear sister Queen, Shauna Joy X, how do you feel overall? What do you think about courtship in a time like this for the most part?
I think courtship in a time like this is beautiful, and I think it might persuade those who were initially on the fence or using any type of deceptive intelligence, to not to move forward with courtship and not to move forward with marriage. That yes, now is the time, because we see that things are ramping up, and you don't want to be in, you want to have a united front when you're in war. That's why the United States calls on all their allies, you better back us. You want to have a united front, and you don't want to be going through a time like this by yourself, brother or sister. You want to be able to be always, inshallah, should be leaning on and having Allah as our center and as our, to hold us up. However, it's even better to have someone that believes and is aware and pursuing the same faith and pursuing the same means of survival as you, to assist you during this type of a dark hour. Now, I don't think that means we should rush head first into something that we're not prepared for, or haphazardly, but I believe that yes, we should move forward with courtship. We should move forward with marriage righteously, in the proper manner and fashion, because the best way to combat this war that we're in is with more troops, with a strong nation, and we know that a nation is made up of strong families. So again, that's why I say you don't want to rush into anything. You know, if you're prepared and you're ready, you know, no one knows all but Allah. But if you are prepared for the most part, go forth with a proper courtship. And if that proper courtship leads to, you know, you two deciding, yes, we are fit for each other, then go right ahead. Come on. Let's get in ranks and let's move out.
All praises due to Allah. Shout out to all the viewers chiming in. Sister Bernadette, Witherspoon, Brother Billy Bland, Nabia Shakur. Who else we got? Brother Hakeem Muhammad. Shout out to Sister Sanaa. All praises due to Allah. Sister Barbara Jean Muhammad.
All right,
Jaquez Hayes. Sister Denise Renee Muhammad. Mumin Muhammad. Brother Collins in the building. And Brother Terrell, a.k.a. Brother Radio Raheem. I see you, brother. Yes, sir. Also, the Western Regional Student Minister. Man, none other than Abdul Malik Saeed Muhammad. And he's the, let me be very clear, you know, I'm going to put him on the spot for a minute. He is the motivation when we do these revolutionary relationships. First of all, he's been in a revolutionary, I don't want to give off his age, but he's been in a revolutionary relationship for quite some time. And it's absolutely successful. Why? Because they're perfect? No, but because they're still striving, still growing, still keeping a smile on the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's face. They've raised a beautiful family, as well as grandchildren. And he is always available to the believers, really nationwide, through his Marriage Keepers program. He's always available to the believers for any counsel, anything that they need, as far as just even if it's just an ear to speak to. And I would probably say about 85%, well, really 100% that we talk about here on Revolutionary Relationships comes through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, through him down to my big head and that poof she got on the top of her head. So that's the line of divine that this information is coming from. So shout out to our beloved Western Regional Student Minister. But, you know, like my wife said, it is something that's important at this point. Brother Hakeem said, yes, I am pursuing courtship, and yes, sir, and ma'am, I need to change how I go about it. But that's what we're going to touch on. What really needs to change? Now, what we're going to go through in a few minutes, we're going to go through some questions that should probably be asked, particularly in a situation like this. Now, I want to stress it again. This ain't nothing new. We've been in this situation for longer than anybody that's watching this has been on this earth. Longer than your mama been on this earth. Longer than your mama's mama been on this earth. Longer than your mama's mama has been on this earth. For 460 years we've been through this, but it's taken different shapes over the wheel of time. Now, one thing that I'm noticing before we really get into the aspect of courtship and things that might change, as we mentioned before, the Trojan horse. You know, how things are being injected into us and injected into our communities. And even through something like the George Floyd, you know, and Black Lives Matter movements and so forth, there's just a lot of things. And one of the main things that have been coming up is the constant resurgence of the battle of the sexes between the Aboriginal man and the Aboriginal woman. It's something that my generation or dispensation is a lot deeper into than previous generations, and it's by design. It's not by accident. You know, scatter the sheep. That's always been the aim of the enemy. Scatter the sheep, and we're the sheep. You know, divide and conquer. That's their go-to move. That's their finishing move right there. Divide and conquer. So right now, everything is always brought back to man versus woman. They've even tried this, and I'm going to show examples in this current situation and in this current movement that's going on. For example, a lot of talk has been made about Colin Kaepernick and what he did. Shout out to brother Colin Kaepernick. It's even brought back memories to a lot of people of our great athletes who took on sacrifices back in the day, like Muhammad Ali. You know, our brothers, you know, who threw up that black fist with the black glove at the Olympics. You know, all of the great men who have done things in the past. So I'm reading the news. I always stay on top of the news, and I try to read it with the you know, with a grain of salt, like the Holy Quran says. When an unrighteous man brings you news, look carefully into it, lest you harm a people in ignorance and be sorry for what you did. So I come up across this sports article, and I'm just gonna show it to you. This is the headline. And it's dealing with Maya Moore. Maya Moore is a very talented WNBA player, right? And she actually abruptly, all of a sudden, retired about a year and a half ago. You know, kind of like how Jordan did back in the 90s. She just left. She just left the league, you know, with no real reason or nothing. But then she revealed that what she was doing, she was going back to school. And what she was going to do is become a legal aid and work for a law firm that does strictly pro bono work. And this headline says Maya Moore gave up more than who? More to fight for social justice than any other athlete. Now it says any other athlete. It doesn't say any other black athlete or black male athlete. But if you read the bottom part, the only names that they name in comparison are black male athletes. Mm-hmm. Muhammad Ali, Colin Kaepernick. I read the whole article, and that's all they talk about is how we should talk about her more than Colin Kaepernick and Muhammad Ali and all these other black men. Oh, they didn't mention it. They didn't mention Tim Tebow. They didn't mention any other white person whoever stood up for any kind of cause. They only mentioned brothers. So that's one example. That's one example. But I'm going to take you back 3 years ago. And it really didn't get a lot of attention, and I'm glad it didn't. You know, but I think a lot of educated sisters paid attention to it. But it really didn't get a lot of attention. But that was an article. That was an article that I'm going to pull up. That really was by The Root. It's a magazine called The Root. And in this article, they brought up something that I thought was just so out of place and just so out of pocket. But a lot of people did not really catch on to what it was trying to say. But I'm gonna let you take a look at the headline itself, and the headline speaks for itself. You reading that right? It's nothing in your eyes. You see it for what it is. It says straight, and this was written by a brother, as you can see right there. I believe he's a homosexual brother though. But it says straight black men are the white people of black people. Straight black men are the white people of black. I mean, look at that. And then you had a lot of celebrity sisters who took that headline and actually retweeted it and put it back out there. And this was 3 years ago. One person who really pushed the line on this article was the sister. Her name escapes me, but she recently left ESPN. But she was the sister that was on ESPN. She used to do the show with the brother, and they would go back and forth on sports topics. But she's a pretty well-known anchor on ESPN, at least she was. But she was really retweeting this. In fact, when I first saw the title of this, I saw it from her retweet. And I knew what it was, and I knew what I was looking at back then. I saw the propaganda in it back then. But what they're trying to say in this article is basically putting it in sisters' minds that no, your biggest enemy is not white supremacy. It's not any white man. It's not your white boss. It's not your white doctor that's trying to talk you into going to Planned Parenthood or trying to talk you into vaccinating your children. No, 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 no. Your biggest enemy is any black man that you see. All praises due to Allah. Yours on your phone. Oh. All right. But so that's just an example of some of the things that are brought up. And then with brothers, we're no better. We're no better. In fact, a lot of the negative implications in our minds that come, that we say about the opposite sex, it's probably deeper rooted because black women just recently started openly speaking out in public and on big stages and on big platforms, about their dissatisfaction with the black man. Really, a lot of sisters kept it to themselves for a long time. But brothers, you listen to our favorite rappers. What are they saying about black women? Look at some of the movies that we love and applaud, some going all the way back to blaxploitation. What were they saying about black women? So it's something that always rears its head, but now it's rearing its head now through this whole George Floyd situation. People are even saying, that we're not even paying attention to the black women that are on the forefront of the struggle. Sister Shauna, how do you feel about this?
Like you said, it's and you've been speaking on this all week, so it's we should already see that this is just the Trojan horse, that's being implanted into a movement that has brought us together. We've been seeing the unity between blacks throughout this whole uprising, I want to call it, with what has happened recently with George Floyd. So, whenever they see unity, they know that unity is stronger than an atomic bomb. That's what's going to destroy the stronghold that white supremacy has on us. So, of course, something has to be done to disperse that unity and create disunity. So, of course, pitting the black male against the female is like, that goes all the way back to slave, back to Willie Lynch,
That's right.
And it's something that has worked so successfully throughout the years, So, of course, that's what we're going to see. However, what I'm praying for is that, with this being a time of war, that we keep focus on who the true enemy is and not get distracted and not get diverted and not go back to our old ways while we have, big name celebrities, we have rappers, we have Hollywood standing up, we have the basketball players standing up, our athletes,
Right.
let's not use lip service in this time to unite us and then go in our personal lives and do and say things that create disunity, and amongst ourselves that is always going to be made public, and then that becomes the talking points or the media points that they use to again pit us against each other. Right. And they're going to start targeting, the little man and the little guys, we're constantly being targeted. But we can't forget that these celebrities are taking a real, they're taking a hit, to stand up and come to the forefront and say, hey, we're not playing no more basketball till we have some real talks about what's going on and about injustice, because they can very easily be pulled from the scene because they don't do for self. Right. Their lifestyle, their funds, their finances is all coming from these large, corporations, sponsorships, and the NBA, and who is all owned by whites. So let's make sure that in this time, we're, like we say in the Nation of Islam, all general orders in full effect at all times. So that means in our own personal lives, let's not do anything that's going to create a diversion or dissension between our marriages, between our relationships. You know, whether it's your woman, your wife, your baby's mother, we need to be strong. And we need not give the enemy anything that they can pluck and use to cause more dissension between us and distract us from the true problem.
Absolutely. And keep in mind, especially to my brothers, that a lot of times when you see that propaganda and you think you see it and you think you saw it coming, understand that their goal is not only to put something in the sister's head, but they also are looking at the far-reaching domino effect. Something goes in her head, and then it manifests in some kind of action that she does toward the black man, and then that brings something out of the black man. For example, we see the feminism and the Me Too movement, and what that causes a lot of black men to be very defensive, you know, and then openly and publicly speak out, you know, against black women in general, not against the propaganda, not against the actual purveyor of this propaganda, but against our sisters. So they play the long game. The enemy plays the long game, but also, you know, one thing I see from my brothers that we got to stop. First of all, we got to stop throwing away our sisters. It's always funny to me how righteous brothers get when we see a woman that appears to not be carrying herself in the most righteous way. You know, listen, the porn industry, these movies that push sex, you know, anything that pushes the loose woman, they're only pushing it to be sold to the man. So it's kind of like the drug game. The only reason dope sells like it does is because you have dope fiends. So on the dope fiend spectrum of a woman who appears to not be righteous, we're the fiend on that side of the thing. So we got to stop throwing our sisters away. Like the sister that we brought up last week, I wanted to just bring her up just to be fair, but the sister who found herself, well, she didn't find herself, she was actually twerking in the streets doing a protest in front of the police. We blotted out the fact that she did not have much on under her shirt, you know, but she put on a whole strip show, and I'm gonna go ahead and take that off. But we see stuff like that as brothers, and we say, oh, see, they this, they that, they not this, they not this, they not that. Okay, well, what are we? Every no good woman was made a no good woman by a no good man, so teaches the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. So that's one thing brothers got to stop doing in light of this propaganda. And if we continue to do it, it proves that we're still falling for that propaganda. Another thing, one thing that haunts me, it happened right before I moved to California, and I just thank Allah that I was nowhere in the vicinity when it happened. There's a video of a highway patrol officer, white highway patrol officer, just beating the hell out of a sister in the middle of a highway, in the middle of the street. And then there are other instances, other videos floating around the internet where women are being accosted. I just saw another one for the first time. It was right outside of a mall where this black woman, you know, pulled up, and I don't know if it was a dispute over parking, where she was parked. I guess she was just coming to pick up her husband or whatever. And then the police officer just took her and literally slammed her onto her chest, and then got on and mounted her like she was a horse and held her down. You know, almost similar to what they did to Brother George Floyd. And it's just brothers standing around watching. Crazy. Standing around watching. She's even trying to give them instructions. Hey, go get my husband. He's inside. They not even following it. She said, okay, I know you a punk, but at least go get my husband. He's inside. Brother just sitting up there with his phone.
Wow.
We gotta make sure that we are jumping. We're so quick with each other to tell each other what, you know, where we are in our specific lanes. But brothers, that's our lane. That's our lane. We got to be ready to die on a day like that. We got to be ready to die on a day like that. If you get hit upside the head, even if you get shot, you get tased, you get arrested. So what, brother? We doing that anyway. We getting arrested anyway. We getting beat upside the head anyway. We get shot anyway. But that's the perfect time. Ain't nobody gonna be mad at you if you get shot under those circumstances. So that's one thing we gotta stop doing. But I gotta go back to that article about black men being the white men of black people. First of all, it's just a dumbass title. I just gotta call it what it is. It's a silly argument. It's really very transparent. You can see right through it. But let's look at the actual facts to those that really were purveying that and pushing that out there. Because I see that message is working. Because a lot of black women, I won't say a lot, but there's some black women who, when they see a homosexual black man, they say, okay, that's my ally. That's my ally. That's my guy. You know, he kind of funny, but leave him alone. He just different. That's my guy. And you see that. You see that dynamic duo a lot in public. You know, heterosexual sister, homosexual man. But then a sister sees a heterosexual man, okay, that's my enemy. Right. That's my you know, it's like being in a negotiation. You know, it's one side of the negotiation and another, and y'all both got to keep a poker face. Yeah, he trying to get something from me. I'm trying to get something from him. That's my enemy. That's my opposition. You know, so that proves that kind of thinking has been successful. But let's look at it for what it really is. Okay, we're the white people of the black community. Okay, how much power do we have? None. How much access to jobs do we have? None. The sister is hired quicker before we. In fact, we're third in the black community on the totem pole of being hired. The first person they want to hire, if they got to hire anybody in the black community, first they're going to hire a black woman. It's also same goes for loans, same goes for college admissions. First thing they're going to do is hire the sister. Second choice is a homosexual black man. And then third is the straight brother. And that straight brother better be docile. He better be submissive. He better be straight Tiger Woods. You know what I mean? Ben Carson. He better be so, non-threatening. He better laugh at everything they say, scratch his head when he ain't itching, all of that. He better do all of that, or they're going to see him as a threat. So it's absolute falsehood. But I want to show you something, and this is something that we try to do on NationTown TV. We try to show you what the people are thinking. And speaking of which, everybody that's watching, definitely hit us up with questions or comments. Shout out to Sister Sana. She says, and have him around their children. Exactly, sister. Have him around the children. Come on. I've seen them even. I've seen homosexual men, with basically babysitting children. Now, NationTown TV, you can't come at us with that homophobic stuff. We just calling it what it is. If we say we love black people, then you have to also love the process in which black people come from. Black people come from heterosexual relations. So that's why we consider that a threat, to black salvation. It's something that does not produce black people. It's just real simple, But, shout out to everybody chiming in. Hit us with your questions and comments. But I want to show you a couple of comments from black women that I found to be very, very, very enlightening. One, I don't know the sister. The first sister I'm going to show you was taken from Twitter. I don't know her, but look at what she said. This sister says, black women are so lost in this moment. The enemy will use us in every way they can to destroy black men. And y'all, she's talking about her sisters, are falling for it. I'm going to read that again. She says black women are so lost in this moment. And she's talking, if you check the date, she's talking about the issues that we're going through right now as a community. The enemy will use us in every way they can to destroy us. I definitely agree with that to a certain degree. I don't know about saying the sisters are completely lost in this moment. But just like the brothers, there is a misleading going on. We are falling for the okie doke, as they used to say. But Sister Shauna, tell me what you think about this this tweet, and I'm gonna bring it back up. Black women are so lost in this moment. The enemy will use us in every way they can to destroy black men, and y'all are falling for it. What you think about that?
You know, I don't want to know if I don't want to say in this moment. I want to say, you know, we're lost. We're lost, and this moment is giving the enemy an opportunity to really take advantage of it. So it's being used for their advantage, because now at a point that we're seeming to come together, we're using the pain, you know, to come together. They're taking us back to something that has never been corrected, you know, because we don't have a knowledge of self, because we don't have a knowledge of God, because we don't have a knowledge of our enemy, and because we are the ones who have been placed since slavery, going back to Willie Lynch, who have been placed on the front lines. You know, sometimes you got to drag a man, come and, you know, get to the front of this, you know, because we are so accustomed and we've been placed on that front line and in the forefront by the enemy. What we're doing is we're taking this misguided, I don't want to say power, but we're taking this misguided stance, and we're allowing other people to come, like we saw that sister, the fake Black Panther. Come on now.
Come on now.
You know, we're taking this stance, and we're taking the power that we have to be in the forefront, and we're using it very misguidedly, if that's even a word. I might have just made that up. Like, help me out.
You made that up.
I made that up.
Like Brother Arthur said, you made that up.
Right? Shout out Brother Arthur the Mosque. But you know, we're using the lack of knowledge, and we're using the power that we have in a misguided way, because we don't know how to direct it properly. You know, so we have this power, we've got all these people gathered, but instead of saying, hey, you know, we're not going to let the enemy take this force and the momentum of this movement and use it against us. Let's gather peacefully and forcefully, and let's direct this energy in a manner that's going to be more productive for us. But they're saying, okay, now let's hit the streets. Oh, everybody can come. Come on, white people.
Right.
Come on, feminists. Come on, gays. No.
Everybody invited to the cookout.
Exactly. If we're going to have the power to get out here and organize and mobilize, we need to use that power wisely and say, no, I'm sorry. You over here twerking in front of cops, that's not what we're about. That's not going to bring us any type of change that weakens us. It makes us look ridiculous. Oh, ma'am, you're over here stripping in front of... No, ma'am, excuse me. Sister, you got to go. You know, we have to be organized, and we have to be smart with what we're doing. If we go up there, fools rush in, and we have no plan, we have no knowledge, we don't know what our role is, we don't know to say, come on, this is a time, where are my brothers at? Where are my real men at? Come on. Brothers, get in the forefront. We're behind you. Lead us, guide us. Take our input. But these are our black men. Yes, we're getting killed as well, but you are our protection. Come to the forefront, and we will follow you. Let's sit down and let's talk. You know, so we are lost. And we've been lost, but the enemy is just using that in this moment. All
praises due to Allah. That's real. And she brought up something that I forgot. I also read an article, and I forgot to screenshot that basically suggested that we were overlooking the Sandra Blands and the Breonna Taylors. I don't know who they talking about. Well, I'll just put it like this. They ain't talking about NationTown. They ain't talking about the Nation of Islam. Our brother, student minister Ismail Muhammad, he's been speaking on Breonna Taylor every week since it happened. We've been talking about Sandra Bland nonstop on NationTown TV. Breonna Taylor as well. Our brother Alfonso X, also known as Malcolm Flex, did a beautiful piece breaking down. He was one of the first ones that really put details of information that I saw about the Breonna Taylor situation. So that's just false. That's just false,
Right.
you know. But we gotta be on the lookout for those kind of little things. Because the thing about articles and little news clips, especially the internet, where people believe anything they see, you know, you really got to go into the Quran. You know, when a righteous man brings you news, look carefully into it. So when we read that, we just take it as gospel right off top. This is a generation where we question the Quran, we question the Bible, we question anything religious, but anything that pop up on your Facebook timeline, oh yeah, it's real. You know, Michael Jordan, yeah, he funded prisons. No, he didn't. It was a white dude named Michael Jordan, and they just saw his name on a piece of paper, and now it's like common Negro knowledge on social media that he funded prisons when he did. You know, I ain't saying he a perfect brother. LeBron definitely got him beat in the Black Pride category. I don't think they keep that stat in the NBA, but that's one thing right there that he's not guilty of. So when that kind of stuff just gets thrown out there, as black folks, we got to take a step back and look at it and say, wait a minute, where is this coming from? Now, it's another comment that I got to put on here, and I actually know this sister, and since I know her, you know, at the last minute, I decided to post this, but I did not have enough time to get her permission to have her name and her face. But this is a sister. This is actually a MGT. I think the other one that we just showed is also in the Nation of Islam. I'm not 100% sure. I'm actually less than 50% sure. But this sister is an MGT, and she breaks it down completely. And after this, we're going to get into actual courtship, and we're going to give you 3 examples of major questions that should be asked specifically at a time like this. But let's go into this. The sister, this is the first part of her comment. She says, and I quote, "After the death of George Floyd, the world, in a way, began to show sympathy towards the plight of blacks, specifically black men, some genuine, some not, but all in all, to the point where white-owned companies went out of their way to get us to believe that they care about black life." Man, I'm getting emails, real quick, I'm getting emails from Postmates, from Target, from Nike, and everybody talking about Black Lives Matter. But anyway, donations, signs, Juneteenth holidays, like magicians, creating an illusion for their intended audience. Then something happened. The Black Lives Matter movement, I'm going to continue, not to be confused with the organization, suddenly was not as a movement that encompasses all black life. Black trans lives matter broke away from this umbrella and created their own separate movement where the heterosexual male or the heterosexual people, specifically black men, became the culprits. Then a young black woman by the name of Olawatoyin Salah is found dead. We talked about that last episode. And the killers are believed to be black men. And they already got his mugshot on there and everything. Then, during this time, a young black man named Rayshard Brooks is killed by police, and some of the black community begin to justify his death. I bear witness. Now, most recently, J. Cole, a black man, successful rap artist, is accused of misogyny for his lyrics that were assumed by many to be directed towards black women. Just like that, what seemed like the longest minute of care and concern for our black men, that sympathy diminished. He is yet again the villain. I mean, sister knocked it out the park with that. And for those that are not familiar with J. Cole's situation with J. Cole that she mentioned, he basically just released a song like 48 hours ago. And he plays, he's basically giving a scenario. He's telling a story. You know, he's a very good storyteller in his raps. And he's telling a story where he reads a social media post from a real conscious sister. And this conscious sister is going real hard on black men. And he's basically, you know, he's acknowledging her intelligence, acknowledging that everything she says is right, acknowledging that he got a lot to work on. But then he's also saying, wait a minute, you know, he didn't use these words, but as the messenger taught us, proper handling of people. He also mentions how she should understand the reason that black men are in the state they are. So Twitter and black social media got a hold of it and made it like, okay, J. Cole, with all these rappers saying the B word, all these rappers bragging about how many women they just slept with, all these rappers bragging about having sex with your baby mama, not their own, but yours. All these negative images that are portrayed of black women, you get on J. Cole. This is a man who, I got to give it to J. Cole. Every black movement, there he is.
That's right.
He was out there in Ferguson without cameras, nothing. He was just out there. I looked up 10-10-15, the 20th anniversary of the M.A.A.M March. I'm there, and something just tell me look to my left, and I just see J. Cole. He's just there. Y'all know how he dressed. He dressed like he got about $15 in his bank account. But I love that. That's how some of the richest Jews dress. But he just sitting there, you know, he enjoying what the minister is saying. You know, he low key, got a small entourage around him. But he's in the middle of all. He was in the middle of the George Floyd protest. And not to be the center of it like some of these celebrities, you know, as soon as they get out there, they go and get a megaphone or a bullhorn. He just there to be amongst the people. And you listen to his music, he's one of the most conscious artists that are out there. So of all people, you tearing down J. Cole, but you bumping the baby? Come on now. So that's letting you know that there's a propaganda. They trying to not only bring down the black man, but the smartest of us, the most upstanding of us. And then above that, look how they treating the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. You don't get much smarter than him.
That's right.
You don't get a brother with a better resume of helping our people and striving and putting his life on the line for our people than him. And look how they treating him. So what they doing, they trying to smite the shepherd to scatter the sheep. So they taking the strongest men, just like they did on the plantation, like my wife said. So now we're going to check out the questions and comments. We're going to get into some of the questions, just some examples. We're not going to be on here much longer, but just some of the examples. For those of you who are considering courtship, let me first deal with that question. Should you even consider courtship or marriage at a time like this? The simple answer is hell yeah. Hell yeah. In fact, I mean, you shouldn't rush into anything like my wife said, but this should be the time. You should feel, if you single, you going to sleep in a cold bed, you know, no offense to nobody, just keep it real. You know, that's how old folks, you know, say it. If you're going to sleep in a cold bed, it's colder now. During the quarantine, doing everything that's going on. You know, it's always in the back of my mind that we got black women and sisters that are single out there going from point A to point B, going to work, coming home, getting pulled over by the police, and they by themselves. Right. And they really have no real black man to call. You know, a lot of them don't know their father. A lot of them, their uncles and their brothers are incarcerated, or they too far away for them to get. But a lot of that is happening. There is not a better time. And the black man needs the black woman. That's right. We don't need her to protect us. Well, you shouldn't need her to protect you. Inshallah. But you need that consolation when you come home. You need that consoler when you come home from going head up with this beast. So absolutely, you shouldn't. You should go even harder. You should be even more focused than you were before. So I just wanted to deal with that part of it as it was. Brother Jason A. Muhammad says, Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam. I have seen so many black women actually on the front line driving the point lately and hearing them vent their frustrations because of a seemingly lack of true black man representation with them. And I see the exact same thing, and not just in the most recent like George Floyd situation, but even with Ferguson, even with the uproar about Sandra Bland, which I felt like was very adequate from black people in general. But just being on the front lines, brothers, we got to do a better job. Now, the Nation of Islam, we have instructions not to be out there, you know, with all them white people who are really busting all the windows, really looting all the stores. And that's why the minister, I'm assuming that that's one of the main reasons that the minister kept us out of that, because he saw that coming. But as far as just the movement in general, as far as the salvation of our people in general, whether it's in the streets with a picket sign, or it's at home becoming a better man, you know, going out in the world, you know, building a nation for your family and for your people, we gotta step up. We gotta step up, because we have a situation where our woman is being programmed to think that she's all she got. And eventually she's going to start thinking that even in a relationship and sexual way, that she's all she got. And then you're going to look up and she's not even looking, she's not even checking for you in that way anymore. But shout out to everybody else. Sister TC Alamu says we need our protectors. Absolutely.
That's right.
The black man and the black woman is a yin-yang. It's a divine yin-yang. You want to see God? Look at a black man and a black woman together. That's God. Now, the black man is God on his own 2 feet. The black woman is God on her own 2 feet. She's a God on her own 2 feet. But, man, we are the God. We are the manifestation of the God, of Master Father Muhammad, even the creator of the heavens and earth that came before him. We are the manifestation and reflection of him when we come together. That's why women are different and men do this and women do that, because we are yin-yang. Our parts fit each other like 2 Lego pieces. You know, so what a Lego piece look like by itself? But what does it look like when all the pieces are put together? So that's why Allah made it that way. So now we're going to get into anything you want to say as far as that question. Should we even be thinking about it? You kind of touched on it earlier, but what else you want to say about, you know, the question is, should we even be courting at all at a time like this?
Most definitely. And you know, I just have to give my own little shout out, because one of the things that myself and my husband talked about during courtship is, you know, what would we do, not if, but when the time came that we were out of the mosque. You know, we didn't know how it was going to happen. You know, I know in my mind it was like, you know, all extra dramatic. You know, they're going to come and, you know, try and burn all the books and prohibit gatherings. And look, it happened though. They did prohibit gatherings. So, hey, you know, so we talked about that. You know, what are we going to do? We can't go to the mosque. You know, we're at home. We can't have our regular mosque meetings. What would we do? And that's something that we talked about, and we're living it now. You know, it wasn't lip service. We even get dressed on Sundays. My husband came, and that's not something that we said, you know, while we were recording. We're going to actually still get dressed in our garments, in our uniforms, and sit and watch a lecture, hold our own little mosque meetings. But, you know, we ended up doing that, and my husband brought that to us. So, you know what I'm saying? You want to be with someone that is going to help you to stay on your deen and get you through this dark hour sane, you know, while we still have the time. You know, we're in a dark hour, but we can still move about a little bit. You know what I'm saying? We have some wiggle room. The ish hasn't really hit the fan just yet, you know. So, you know, I just had to get a little shout out. But yes, most definitely. And now that we're really living in this dark hour, it's not like something so far off or far-fetched that when you're courting, you have to be like, you know, let me come up with all these scenarios. Oh no, the scenario's already in your head. We're living it now. So what are you doing right now? You know, hey, sir, brother, what does your charity look like? You know, are you skimping? You know what I'm saying? Are you still attending your meetings? Let me see. Let's take a look at your attendance, because now we're actually living in the hour where our faith is really on us. No one's there to see, oh, he's coming to the mosque often. That's, you know, that's a beautiful thing to see a brother or sister continuously coming to the mosque, continuously working. But now, when no one's there looking, and it's on you, oh, okay, you gonna get up at 9 o'clock in the morning, you gonna be in your class, you know, or you just gonna slack off. You know, this is the hour where it really shows your faith, because there's no one there to see you, and there's no one there to hold you accountable but yourself and God. So, you know, you want to look into those things, because now you can get the real picture of how people are going to operate on their own accord. Are you really going to practice what you profess, or is it all just lip service?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me see some receipts.
And Brother Ralph Roper says, this is a time we cannot drop our guards. We got to check very carefully. That's what I was talking about when an unrighteous man brings you news. Otherwise, we'll look as silly as that scene on Django, where they were sitting around watching those Mandingo fighters, basically fight to the death, to the amusement and entertainment of these rich white men sitting around watching this happen. And then when it was over, the winner got a piece of chicken and something to drink. And that's how we look when we playing the battle of the sexes and going at each other's necks over little petty stuff. Like I saw a post the other day where some sister posted, if men had to be had to do baby mama duties, this is the word she used, baby mama duties for 24 hours, they would fold. And I had to respond. I said, you know what? I said, if we allowed ourselves to be divided between the man and the woman, the black community would fold. Oh wait, that's already happened. So I posted that. The sister didn't respond, but that's the real. Now another thing before we get into, because we're gonna close out with a few examples of questions that you should bring to the forefront at a time like this. But before we go into that, we talk a lot about Black Wall Street. We talk a lot about, even the minister, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, talks about the gains that black people made immediately after the Emancipation Proclamation. But there's a recurring thread through all of those glory days of black people, even pre-slavery glory days. Let's not forget that we had a glory day. We had trillions of years of glory prior to slavery. But the recurring theme that we don't talk about, like we talk a lot about buying black, supporting black businesses, that's good. That's a very key part. But when you look at Black Wall Street, you look at Rosewood, you look at any moment in time where black people thrived and were successful, you also saw successful black marriages. You cannot go in time. When you see those statues, those Egyptian statues of Osiris and his queen, she's right there next to him. There's not a moment in time on the wheel of time where we've had any manner of success as an overall people where our relationships and the way the black woman saw the black woman was not successful. We cannot be successful. We can support all the black businesses we want to. We can believe in this certain belief system. We can do this. We can do that. We can protest. We can break windows. We can slap the mess out of white police officers. We can do all this stuff. We can go buy all the guns in the world. We can get all the black fatigues. But I'm telling you, if you look in the wheel of time, you will never find a time of success amongst black people where you also saw us bickering each other and seeing each other as the enemy. That's something that's 100% exclusive to this dispensation, meaning the last 30 to 40 to 50 years. It's no previous. All of our ancestors, those of y'all who say you worship your ancestors, I don't believe in no religion, I worship my ancestors. Okay, all them ancestors are looking down on you right now and saying, where is her man? Where is his wife? Why he sitting up there by himself? Why he in the mirror all day? That's what your ancestors are saying. It's like, where's all the marriages? Why 70% of the households, single parent households? Now, when we first started Revolutionary Relationships, we really, wanted to walk the believers through and the people, anybody that watched, because Revolutionary Relationships is for the Aboriginal family, but we wanted to walk the people through the courtship process. So now we put our heads together and we want to find a few examples. There's a couple that we pre-prepared, and I'm also going to give my wife the chance to think of something that she thinks should also be asked. But it's a few things that we brought up as questions that definitely should be asked in the courtship process right now to make sure that you're not marrying a Ben Carson, that you're not marrying a Candace Owens, because you might, hey man, you might have a Ben Carson, in your DM, sister. You might have a brother, you might be about to get on one knee and propose to a Candace Owens. So we got some questions that absolutely should be asked. We're going to start with the first one. What do you think about, and then unfortunately every other day there's a new victim, there's a new brother that gets shot, a new sister that gets shot. What do you think about insert latest injustice murder here? What do you think about it? And then, brother and sister, brother and sister, pay attention to what they say or what they don't say. You know, don't just gauge their answer. Because, see, we gotta kind of make the other side a little uncomfortable in these courtship situations. Don't just give them the stuff that, you know, so they can say, oh, baby, so they can give you the party line. So they can tell you the thing that you want to hear. See, this is something that they really got to get deep on. If they just give you some cookie cutter answer. Oh, man, yeah, man, Ahmaud Arbery, man, that was messed up, man. But anyway, baby, let me hold your hand. No. You got to check that brother on that. Brother, elaborate. What really bothered you about that situation? What really bothered you about the Sandra Bland situation? Elaborate. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation. So that's one example of a question that should be asked. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I had to depart soon.
Oh, okay.
You all, so I just want to give at least one example real quickly. You know, like my husband said, with the times that we're living in, a good question to ask, and this goes both ways. Brother to ask the sister, sister ask the brother. You know, let's say that this, you know, you work at a non-essential job. And for the time being, your job is furloughed, Lord have mercy, furloughed, and or you've been
that's a good one,
or you been let go, and things are shut down, and there's no projection of when things will open back up. You know, we're married, we have a family, we have children, okay, and I'm not working, you know, if I'm the spouse, this is my question, you know, I'm a housewife, and that's a big enough job as it is. What are you going to do to sustain this family? You know, we've gone through the savings and bills are due. What's the next move for our family?
Absolutely. That's a heavy one right there. That's a heavy one. And what she was talking about is she has to leave in a minute.
Nation business.
Yeah, you know, she ain't leaving me. I ain't letting her go nowhere.
Never.
But no, she, you know, she's
Ever.
hard striving MGT. They got some business to take care of. But here's another question. If I left out the I, if I was in a situation like Sandra Bland or Ahmaud Arbery or Rayshard Brooks, and I called you, what would you do? What would you say to me? And now, mind you, these are unisex questions. Plug yourself into this. If I, the man, was in a situation like Ahmaud Arbery, I called you and said, baby, it's these Peckerwoods following me in this truck. I don't know what to do. Situation like Trayvon. Situation where, you know, like Rayshard Brooks. Baby, I'm sitting in my car. I fell asleep in the drive-thru. The police is up on me. You know, I think they're gonna trip on me. You know, I got priors. You know, what am I gonna do? You know, what would you say? What would you say? You know, if I'm in a situation like that. These are kind of questions. These scenarios. You got to role play a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, sister, if you ask that question, hey, baby, you know, I don't know. I just tell you, you know, keep your faith in God, you know what I mean, and just pray on it, you know what I mean? If that's all the prayer, that's great advice. Seek refuge in Allah, and that's deep advice too. It's deeper than what it sounds like, but if that's all the brother says, sister, you know, you got to dig deeper and see, wait a minute, brother, you ain't gonna have nothing. Let's say they went ahead and take me to jail, like they did Sandra Bland. How hard would you work to help me make bail? That was one of the major issues Sandra Bland had. There's a very good documentary on HBO about Sandra Bland, and that really took her spirit when she got incarcerated and her family had trouble, you know, bailing her out and so forth and so on. And when she called home, they had a recording of the voicemail. She sounded so just distraught and defeated, you know. So that's a question to ask. What would you do if I called you under those situations? Or like Philando Castile, you were right there with me. You know, his fiance was right there with him. And I think overall she did a fantastic job. You know, she stayed calm, supportive. She kept her child also calm. Don't forget her child, which wasn't Philando's biological child, but he was about to be her father. You know, but she kept her child calm. Her poor baby, I don't even want to get into it. but she was asking questions like, Mama, are they going to shoot us too? All that kind of stuff. These are kind of questions we should be having. Now, the last one is kind of a trick question. Y'all know how we do it on NationTown TV. The last one is kind of a trick question. It's a two-part question. You want to ask your courtmate, what don't you like about black men and black women? And then wait for the answer. Now, I guarantee you, sisters, that brother might hesitate a little bit. You know, it's like he gonna kind of look at you like, is this a trick? And then if you get him to talking, he is gonna write a book right there in front of your face. Man, these women who do this, these women who do that. Like I said earlier, a lot of times we get real righteous when we talking about women that we think are not righteous. So he probably gonna sit there and, man, women who dress like this, who talk like that, who done did this, who got too many baby daddies, and whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. And he gonna write a book. And brothers, that sister ain't gonna hesitate. She ain't even gonna try to figure out if it's a trick question or not. She gonna go straight into Iyanla Save My Life or Oprah mode. She gonna go full speed ahead and say, let me tell you, these niggas, they do this, they do that, they do this, they do that. You're gonna be there for about 5 hours. That's the first part. That's the first part. But pay attention to everything they say. Take notes even. Because they're going to give you a lot. They're going to say brothers don't do this enough. Sisters don't do that enough. Y'all be doing this. Y'all. And then after you take all of that in, and don't argue, don't go back and forth. Just take in what they're saying. Look deeply into it. And then hit them with this one. What don't you like about white supremacy? Now, considering what they said about what they don't like about the black man or the black woman, compare the two responses. Which one did they have the most answers to?
Ooh, got him.
Now, after writing a book about everything he don't like about black women, and then you ask him about white supremacy, he say, man, you know, it's kind of messed up. After he done gave all these details, and don't tell me, oh, it's because he has more experience with bad examples of black women. No, we've been black all our life. We didn't start even looking at the opposite sex till we were like around a teenager, or unless you were an early bloomer like me. I was like 6, 7 years old. But anyway, we've been black all our life. So you have at least an equal amount of experience of dealing with white supremacy as you have dealing with the opposite sex. And we know it's been negative, and we know it's been eventful. So if you turn around and ask him, sister, okay, now tell me what you think about white supremacy. Not white people. We talking about the construct and the institution of white supremacy, which was brought about by white people. Don't get it twisted. They're the spider. White supremacy is the web. But listen to what they got to say on that one. And if they give you a real basic, quick answer, oh, yeah, it's sad. I wish we could just all get along. If he give you the Rodney King, oh, sister, you got a problem on your hands. If he give you the Dr. King, well, you know, I just wish we could all, you know, hold hands and sing the old Negro spiritual, free at last, thank God Almighty. You got a Ben Carson on your hands, sister. Brother, if she was just going on and on and on about the brothers, and then when you ask about white supremacy, she just kind of like, yeah, it's kind of messed up. Black Lives Matter. Anyway, brother, you might want to check her. You might want to find out what's really going on.
Dig a little deeper.
Because the right answer should be equal to or greater than the kind of response they gave when they were describing the kind of black man they don't like. In fact, those two things should be very similar, because almost everything that we do to each other that is negative, we got it from white supremacy. So we should be saying the exact same things, answering both of those questions. But if you get a real dichotomy, you get a difference, especially if it's a lot weaker on the white supremacy side than it was on the black man, black woman side, then that's telling you what you're dealing with. You're dealing with somebody that got a lot of problems, a lot of issues, engrams, you know, things that happen to them. And we're told by society that those things are more damaging to us than white supremacy. White supremacy is constantly telling us that white supremacy is not even an issue. Your worst problem is your man or your woman or this political party or that political party. They'll get you to blame everything in this world other than the system that they set up. So I'm gonna go over these questions again. Hit them up again. What do you think about the latest injustice or the latest murder? And pay attention to how much depth they have in their answer. Now, some people are more eloquent and more, better control of words than others. But damn, when we talking about each other, none of us have a shortage of words. So don't give me that, oh, well, I ain't that eloquent. No, brother. If I ask you, man, what you think about these females, especially if I throw in the B word or the H word, you going to go in. You're going to do a whole rap song about it. The other question, if I was in a situation like a Sandra Bland, Ahmaud Arbery, Rayshard Brooks, so forth and so on, and I called you or you were with me, what would you do? And then lastly, the two-part got him question. What don't you like about black men and black women? Just sit back. You might have to cover yourself. You might have to duck because they're going to come at you with a lot. And then come right behind it on what don't you like about white supremacy in general. Y'all got that? All praises are due to Allah. Shout out to everybody watching. We're not going to be on much longer, so I'm going to save the last bit of advice, which goes regardless of what the situation is. I mentioned earlier, and this wasn't scripted or nothing. The brother, he surprised us, fell through, came through, showed us some love. But our beloved Western Regional Student Minister, as I mentioned before, he let you know that he's been married for 34 years. So regardless of what's going on in the world, I'm going to give you some advice that he gave us, and it's some of the best advice that he gave me and my wife. When you're considering marriage and courtship, and especially when you get married and you begin a courtship, you need to start gravitating toward those who have already been down the road that you're trying to go down, especially the ones who have been all the way down that road. If they've been married for 10, 15, 20 plus years, that doesn't mean that they just been tiptoeing through the tulips, smiling and kissing and hugging and just enjoying life all them years. No, sir. Don't forget they black in America. So they done been through all kind of stuff. They done been through financial struggles. And I'm talking about any, couple, experienced married black couple or Aboriginal couple. They done been through financial struggle. They done been through problems with their respective families. They probably had a situation where, her family didn't like him or his family didn't like her. They done been through almost everything that you can go through. They done been through ups and downs. They done been through success and failures. So I'm not saying that all your single friends, you just gotta treat them like you never knew them, but you gotta start gravitating away from them and gravitating toward, like, if you're trying to get money, if you're trying to, make money, why spend all your time hanging around broke folks who ain't trying to do nothing else? Gravitate toward the people who are already went down the road that you just thinking about going down or you just started going down. So make sure you spending some time or at least ear hustling very experienced couples, who've been down whatever step you about to go through. If you're going through courtship, listen to people who done been through it, and they're striving and doing well in their marriage. If when you go into the marriage, when you get to the marriage level, gravitate toward people and listen to people and be around people who are successful in that process of striving for marriage, because it is a process. Do not waste all your time, because what they're going to do, evil in this world, Satan makes evil very seeming. And we take after him in a lot of ways, talking about the devil. So we have a tendency as the devil's children. Many of us are the devil. Like the minister says, all of us are not children of God. Some of us are children of the devil. That sometimes we make our own inadequacies fair seeming. So you're gonna be around that brother who makes being single look cool. He really miserable. He going home every night with his TV dinner, you know what I mean, his bag of chips, eating off a cardboard box, you know, at his cold bed, and he miserable. But when he get around you, he talking about all the women he juggling and all of this and now this. Man, I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna go there. Oh man, you gotta go home. Oh man, see, I'm free. I do it. You know, be careful with that, because then you're gonna start thinking, man, maybe I should go back to being single. Same thing with the sisters. So make sure you're gravitating toward people who have already been down the road, and at minimum, be around just other married couples, period. But particularly those who are further down that road than you are. Anything you want to say before we close out?
No, you hit the nail on the head. I apologize. I do have to dismiss myself.
Me too.
Handle the business, nation business, of course. But thank you all for tuning in. We love you. We greatly appreciate your time and your input. And inshallah, may Allah God please keep you all safe and secure in His good graces. And I look forward to speaking with you all again. You all have a blessed and beautiful night. And I will leave you as I came in the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. And before we go, speaking of our Western Regional Student Minister, Abdul Malik Saeed Muhammad, go on YouTube and look up Nick Cannon's class, his show that he does, where he interviews a special guest. I think he does it weekly. The latest guest on that show is our beloved Western Regional Student Minister, Abdul Malik Saeed Muhammad, dropping more fire, just like he did, you know, in front of all those, you know, city councilmen and the mayor and the police chief. He coming with that same fire. Make sure you check it out. It's called Cannon's Class. It's a good show too. Shout out to brother Nick Cannon. He was out there with us. We once again, Mosque 27, we fed our community, man. We went back in the projects again. We had an event at Simply Wholesome, and Nick Cannon was there the whole time, man. He's a real brother, cool brother. So make sure you check that out. Cannon's Class, featuring our beloved Western Regional Student Minister. But with that said, I'm gonna leave you as I greeted you in the words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
I was told to deliver this message.